Wow. Bring on the executioner. Slay those before me. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. It's pretty strong. I remember in 8th grade, I took entrance exams for Our Lady Queen of the Angels High School Seminary, as well as Bishop Aumont Memorial High School. And so I had been accepted to both of them. But I knew that my parents had gone to Bishop Aumont, my 2 older brothers had gone or were already going to the same school. And so the strength of that legacy was very strong, and so it really influenced a lot of my decision to go to Bishop Aumont and go to high school there. And so upon listening to the first reading about this mother and her 7 sons, the sense of that legacy, honor your brothers and honor your tradition, honor your heritage as who you are. It can be a very strong thing. And in the work of catechesis, we know it's that faith that is handed on from generation to generation. It is a gift that parents hand on to their children, that generations hand on one to another. But the gospel comes to us as sort of another piece there, that while I can receive a gift as a heritage, as an inheritance, there's a part where I have to take on whatever that gift is and make it my own. We heard a version of this gospel, this parable, on Sunday, the talents. And we see 2 of the servants were very industrious. They got out there, they traded with it, they engaged that in commerce, they took a risk, and it became fruitful. They doubled whatever was given to them, and they returned that to the master. Same is true in this parable. I would wager that when we look at the parable, we already know Jesus is not talking about money. So when he says that the one who has more will be given, and the one who has very little, it sounds like, oh my gosh, that's so unfair. Wasn't Jesus for the poor? He's not talking about money. He is talking about faith. And the servants who put their faith into practice, their faith bears fruit. But the one who held it back, it did not bear fruit or take root. And so what Jesus is saying is that I can receive a rich and wonderful tradition of faith and understanding. I can receive a whole inheritance of ritual prayer and reflection. But if I don't find at some point the ability to start putting that into practice in my own life, having that terms of relationship on my own with Jesus, as well as part of the community of faith, it's not going to bear fruit. In fact, it's going to kind of wither and die. And the Quinto Encuentro project that's been going on around the country in the past few months has been focused on helping communities to say, where do I fit in taking on that relationship with Jesus and that whole sense of missionary discipleship and make it a part of my own life? And continue to proclaim the good news. And in our first reading, we see that faith has taken such a strong root that even earthly life is not the highest value. It's the fidelity, it's that faithfulness to the relationship with God. And we know St. Cecilia and many others like her had that same depth of faith and that same depth of relationship with Jesus Christ. That relationship was so much more important. In what ways am I putting my faith and that heritage that I've received into practice, into deepening my own relationship with Christ, that it bears fruit in my life, and not just for my life, but for others? And ultimately, that bearing that fruit is building up the kingdom of God here on earth. That's what we're meant to be doing. It's not that the church has a mission. It's that the mission has a church. And the mission is to build the kingdom of God. Not in our direction, but flowing from that living relationship with Jesus Christ. That faith foundation that has been given to us that now we must take on and live out. So, sisters and brothers, how are we putting into practice the investment of faith that has been given to us? How are we responding to the gifts given, that we put them into service of others so that they bear fruit and build up the kingdom of God?